So this is episode number 3, Pest Control Millionaire. We're going to talk about business. We're going to talk about marketing, sales. We might talk about some planes on this one, and just everyday life as an entrepreneur. I'm super excited to have Rick on this with us. You guys are in for a treat. Again, I'm really, really excited because this is going to be a fun one. He is going to blow your socks off. This guy will light up a room. He's fun to be around. He's got big goals, and I'm excited to sit down with him. So let's start off, Rick. You own Liquid Lawn, right? You got Lawn Works.
And I just want to say, I'm really happy to be part of the politically correct Millionaire. That's what PC stands for, right?
That's right. Politically correct, yeah. You get on the spot
I feel like I'm in the right place, because I really believe in being politically correct.
Oh yeah, I know.
Don't you, Jonas?
Oh, absolutely. We're on the same page there too. Remember our Grand Canyon story?
Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. I was like, okay, yeah, this is my people.
Yeah,
I've got to be this guy's friend, man.
and you got Lawn Works, you got Be Conscious, mosquito control. You're all over the place. Let's just think back from ground zero, Maverick, and tell us how you got started on this journey. Kind of walk us through the process and where you're at today, and tell us some of the pretty amazing things you're doing, man.
Well, I think it's the typical boring fucking story, I started out when I was out cutting grass, cutting my neighbor's grass, blah, 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 that's fucking boring, so we'll skip past all that bullshit. Cutting grass for 28 years, and all that. But, I just woke up. You ever just wake up in the morning, 4 a.m. and you have perfect clarity?
Happened to me in 2020.
Yeah. So every morning I'd be waking up, we had a landscaping company doing 2 or 3 million. I think I built it. 3 million was the biggest I ever had just in landscaping. And I just would wake up every morning. I'm like, is this shit going to be worth anything at the end of the day? And chopper, baby. Chopper went over. Sorry.
You're good.
We're
Squirrels.
kind of close to the beach. There's lots of choppers. But, you just wake up every day and you're like, am I doing the right thing? Am I building something of value? Am I building something when we get up, I'm sure you're the same way, Dennis. When you get up, you want to be what you're working on, you want it to be worth something. We're not doing it just for a paycheck today, right?
Yep. Not like back in the day, it was a paycheck. Now it's exit strategy at some point, right?
Yeah, right. And just having something of value, let's just be honest, landscaping companies are fucking worthless. Let's say let's pick somebody that I don't like Marty Grunder. Your fucking shit's worthless, man. I'm going to build a fucking pest control company that's going to be worth 4 times what yours is. I'm going to get a multiple of 4 or 5 on my shit, when we're done. And your shit's going to be worthless. And, I'm just going to be badass and you're not. So that's just how it's really going to be. But then, I woke up and I was like, man, I want to do lawn care, spray and fertilizer and weed control. I know the profits are there. It's if you don't know, lawn care and pest control profitability is probably, what do you think? At least twice as much. It depends on there's very, very few well-run landscape companies, right? I mean, there's guys I do 5 million, but you never fucking hear their net profit. Even with consultants like Marty Grunder. What's your net profit, Marty Grunder? What the fuck is it, man?
Yeah. There's a few that, that I can think of off the top of my head that run super successful lawn care companies in tight niche markets where they can run, small push mowers with small little Ford Rangers with the push them in the back with, with little overhead and tons of people. I think of one place that has, they service 15,000 homes and they don't travel within 10 miles of their office. So there's companies that have that advantage over us that they can push out the profit for sure. So there's a few out there, like you said, but not very many.
Very few.
I agree.
Very few. I think it was Charles Vandekoy that said the average net profit of a landscaping company is 4%. And that's Vandekoy.
I've been through 10 years too, so I know what it's like running those companies as well. And they can be profitable in some markets, but I was one of them.
It has to be very well run, very, you have to be, even when I went and toured Frank Mariani, I went to one of those grow events or whatever, and he's the largest, the largest residential landscaper in the United States, 50 million, 70 million. I bought him a drink at the bar, I got up the balls to buy him a drink, and I had to have a few drinks to do it. But so we sat down, and Frank's he's a cool dude. He's just a man, And we me and my buddy were like, let's each ask him one question. I can't remember what his dumb question was, but I remember what mine was. And I was like, Frank, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do different? And he was like, man, I wouldn't go after that gross revenue. I'd go after the bottom line.
100%. You know? At the end of the day, that's what matters, right?
And I think I remember like being in their operations room and I was like, hey, man, like his son was like running operations or VP or something. And I was like, what's your net profit? And he was like, right at that 4% number. And I'm like, you're doing $50 fucking million for only $2 million in profit. Like, yeah. And I'm like the amount of wheels turning in that place. Like they had their own nursery. They had their own fucking, it looked like a fucking tree farm. It was just a holding yard, but they had like arborists over there keeping the fucking trees alive, you know?
Right.
So, but anyway, back to the story. So we decided to grow lawn care, and I bought an old man's business out, and I always told him like, hey man, he was just an old crotchety man, you know, like do you like old crotchety men, Jonas?
Not typically, no. They rub me the wrong way.
Like I like old grumpy mean men, you know, kind of like that fucking movie, Grumpy Old Men, you know. Man. Yeah. I mean, it was just like one of those, you know. And I'm like, I want to buy your business, John. And he's like, I'm not selling it to you, Rick, because I like you. And I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, if I sell it to you, you know, whoever I sell it to, I'm going to fuck their eyes out. And I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, just run it by me first. Let me get first dibs. And so when he was ready, he called me and he was like, let's meet at the Waffle House. And if you don't know, I mean, all good deals are done at Waffle House. If you don't know that yet, right?
I've had some pretty good deals, but there's no Waffle Houses anywhere near this far north.
Well, what do you have that's like a Waffle House?
What do we have that's like a
Tim Horton or some shit?
I don't even think we have that.
There's nothing good.
Yeah, nothing good.
Okay.
What's that pancake place?
Yeah,
IHOP. There we go.
Oh, fuck, man. That's run by those people that we wanted to, you know.
Yep. But yeah, that's what we got.
Well, anyway, so we meet at the Waffle House, and we're sitting across from each other, and he's thought this through, you know, and he's like, you got 2 pens. He brought 2 pens with him, then a fucking napkin. And you know, magic happens on napkins. Absolutely. I mean, Southwest Airlines was born on napkins, and I'm like, fuck, this is cool. And so then he's like, you write your number on your napkin and fold it over. I'll write my number on my napkin and fold it over, and then we'll swap. And I was like, so we did that. I wrote like 60 grand on my napkin, and he wrote 80 grand on his napkin, and we swapped. And then he said, he looked at it, and he was like, meet in the middle? And it was like, yes, sir. That's awesome. And that was how it started, you know, and no lawyers. Lawyers fuck up more shit than they can. I mean, I fucking hate lawyers. If you're a lawyer out there, I fucking hate you. And, you know, they just fuck up everything. But we didn't have a lawyer. Like the second Pest lawn care business I had a lawyer, and I had a really good like guy that was coming on board. I was buying his business, he was coming on board, and the lawyer about fucked it up. I had to go behind both of our lawyers, and just like create that relationship, that little, you know, kind of like what like Jared Kushner does all them goddamn other countries. He's got to go around all the bullshit, you know?
Yep.
And so anyway, we ended up buying it, and you know, like when he transferred his client files, it was kind of like, you know how most people are like, I'll just give you a thumb drive. Like he was like, here it is, boys, and he's like carrying his laptop, his desktop into our office, you know, and it was fucking awesome. And then we're through like his client list, we're like making sure he still got them, and then we get this one lady, and we're like, is she you know, you still service her? And he's like, nah, she's fucking dead.
So is this your first business that you bought that got you into the fertilizing?
I mean, it wasn't the first business I bought, but it was the first like lawn care business I bought. So, okay. And I've only bought 2, but I'm working on I'm planting seeds for like 4 or 5.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Do some, you know, M&A, get you growing fast like you are. But yeah, so that was your first business that you bought. That's you got into the turf care side, and you still had the lawn innovations or at the same time. The lawn works at the same time. Is that right?
It didn't fucking lawn innovations. That's Josh Ebert.
Yeah, okay? I've written down.
There's no reason to plug lawn innovations. Josh Ebert in this. You better fucking be watching, Josh.
You better be.
It's fucking free PR, motherfucker.
It's right. So you still had lawn works at the same time though? Yeah,
and I still do.
Still do currently?
Yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like, you know, it makes money. It's like really what we got. It's where it's pretty well run. And, you know, it's like, do I give up $500,000 in profit, or do I, well, it's probably, I mean, I pay my salary out of that. So that's not, there's profit than what my salary is out of it. So it's not net profit 500, but it's like, what do I do? What do you do? Like it's a pain in, I don't know. I'm still figuring that part out. I think I'm just going to keep it and let somebody else run it.
But then once you got into the liquid lawn side of things, that's when you started seeing the high profitability. That was, well, I mean, the thing is, like, profit is kind of like, we didn't show profit for 5 years across all, like I went underground for 5 years and I dumped everything into it, and I paid myself $100,000 but I mean, I still got a plane. I don't want to eat SpaghettiOs. I mean, there's still some steak floating around there. I mean, I wasn't terrible, but I wasn't paying myself $500,000 and I could have, and just poured it all back in. So you started seeing the money come in through the turf care side. Is that when you got the clarity, like it all just became clear that that's the way you wanted to go? I think I knew what I wanted to do before I even bought it, because it was probably 6 years ago, and I'm like, this labor problem is only going to get worse. I can run. What is it? You can run 3 guys on a maintenance crew and pull in the same gross revenue as you can with 1 on a spray or pest control. Agreed.
Easily.
Yep.
And,
for sure.
And, like when you're looking at like, throughput, like they call that throughput, like the amount of work you can put through one person. Like it's just a no brainer. You can hire less people. To me, it's easier to hire people for spraying and pest control because it's, you're paying more. I mean, I still love lawn maintenance. It's a different quality person. I hate to say that because like my lawn maintenance guys are fucking badass. And I'm on a public podcast and, I love my lawn maintenance guys. Like, and it's almost like that's kind of like an incubator for something else, or we can move them around, or maybe they just want to be like, we always want to give them upward mobility. Yep. And that's the number one thing to be successful is upward mobility. And everybody's like, I can't hire people. This labor market sucks. Well, maybe you suck. That's the fucking truth of the matter. You suck and you're not doing your job. I think that a lot of people say that the labor market sucks really bad, but how many people are actually doing something about it? It's the worst problem that they have, but they just kind of look at it and they start running some Indeed ads. Oh yeah, we're trying like crazy, but no, they're not. They're not really trying. If they're actually out there finding the people that are going to do good work, like there's all kinds of people out there that would leave a company to come to yours to make more money and to have a better position, like you said. When did you like that? To me, that is not only is that an action thing, that's a huge mindset shift. Yeah. When did that happen for you? Probably about 2 years ago myself. Like I was just sick of like on Indeed. I'm not cutting anyone down, but on Indeed I was getting the bottom of the barrel. Like people that were looking for jobs, like the people that we want currently at our job or at our business is people that already have jobs, like, that are already out there in the workforce. And that's kind of when it clicked off. I'm like, we can go get these people. So then I hired a sales team and they got really good at recruiting, and not only recruiting sales guys, but recruiting technicians as well. So we just went on the market and started talking to people. Like, for instance, like if you're going out to dinner and you see a waiter or waitress that's rock star, she's crazy good at her job. Like, why wouldn't you ask her to say, hey, you're really good at your job. Would you ever want to sit down and, think about your career going forward? They're going to say yes, usually. So it's simple things like that you can do to get people. That's how you attract talent in there. You just got to ask. And I think we do ours through Indeed. Yeah. But still, but it's the method and the messaging and in fact, I'm looking for people to implement, because I'm going to sell it one day. Yeah. Our hiring process. So I don't know if you'd be interested in like let me show you everything we're doing for your Indeed ad and everything, and then use you as a testimonial, and then hopefully if that'd be, because I know like just even say like it's counterintuitive. It's like it blows my mind when you're like I've tried to help some people and they don't even do it. When I'm like, I've spent $100,000 like just in ads and frustration figuring this out over the last 3 years. And then when they don't implement it to a T or don't get all the shit done, like if somebody came to me and was like, I have the magic bullet here. I mean, we probably couldn't sleep at night, could we? But then they lollygag around and do this. And people really, they don't even want money. They can tell you this shit. Like, I want to be big, but they don't even want it. Right. But like with the way we attract people to our company, like, and just like you said, it's people looking for another job. They already have a job. They're looking for something else. And then those guys are on job boards and just like you, like, when we see one, I was actually funnel hacking a pest control company. the other day, like getting all their pricing and their sales process. And then I really liked the pest control guy on there, the salesman that was on there. And I was like, dude, man, why don't you come work for us, man? We're fucking badass. And he was like, dude, he's like, who are you with? I was like, Liquid Lawn. He's like, you motherfuckers, I put in my application 8 months ago and you never even fucking responded. And I'm like, bullshit. I like pull it up on my computer and I'm like, oh, damn, there you are. Yeah. So just like you said, like, you know, it's also probably a mindset to be like I saw a guy in Best Buy the other night, last night, and I'm like, he was just he was like he's one of the, what do you call him? There's a word for it. One of the others, you know, a little weird. He's a little chubby, but he was like watching his time. Like I was like, what do you do with that fucking iWatch? Like, I don't know if I want another goddamn piece of chargeable equipment on me, you know? And he's like, well, I'm watching like how many steps I'm doing. He's like, I've walked 4.2 miles in the store and I burned 500 calories, which explains why I'm so fucking hungry right now. And he was like, I'm going to Taco Bell as soon as I get off. But just like a weird kind of like, I was like, man, I like working with weirdos, the misfits, like I don't know. They just kind of excite me.
So that brings you up to where you started doing fertilization weed control, but then you took a next step or 10 steps forward. Kind of explain where you went from after you bought the company and from there to where you're at today. Like
I always thought it'd be cool to like see how we could double in size until like I knew there'd be a point where it'd be really difficult, and people don't understand that. Like you talk to it, like we went from like, what was it? We had 250 clients. We had 200 we bought, 50 that we subbed out that we converted. And then we went from 250, 500 to 1,000 to 2,000. And then it gets a little bit harder. I'm not saying it ain't possible, but you got to have all your shit. You got to have trucks ready. You got to have employees ready. Like you got to think way ahead. And so we kind of did that explosive growth model. And it was like, I don't know, it was like the most fun. I remember it being really fun. And just that kind of growth. And then when I see some guy that's like, he gets to $1 million in like landscape installation sales, and he's like, I'm going to grow this bitch to 5 million in 2 years. And I'm like, yeah, but, I mean, that's easy. I mean, reoccurring revenue takes a lot of strategy. It's harder. We're buying clients basically, you know, it's easy to go put on landscape crews, you know, but I'll tell you the one part that, you know, like I know people that run that kind of like $5 million landscape companies, they struggle to be profitability. There's too many fucking variables, too many managers, too many sales, you know, like all this shit. It's like very hard to systemize. And so when you get to 5 million, you know what you're going to do? You're going to want to blow your fucking brains out, man. You know, but they don't listen. They don't want to listen.
There's so many moving parts, right? And if you look at the majority of the people, like not all, because there's still some really, really good companies out there that do a really good job, but a lot of people are getting away from that industry and getting to the recurring revenue model for that reason. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of many reasons. There's too many moving parts, you know? And
I was in one of those Jeffrey Scott peer groups where like the people were really great in that peer group. I mean, Jeffrey Scott's a fucking hack, but you know, like I got to see people's numbers, and like the people that struggled the most were not the lawn maintenance guys. They were like consistent. They do the same thing over years. They refine their processes. But it was like the landscapers that would be like, fuck, my landscape division lost $5,000 this year. I'm like, you did $2 million and you lost $5,000? Like, holy fuck, you know? And that's what people don't know is like, like if you're in that kind of group and, you know, you see people's numbers and you're like, fuck, man.
So since you brought it up, I know you've been a part of a lot of groups. That's kind of where we met in the beginning, you know, about 5-6 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
But you've been in a lot of groups. Why? Why do you join a bunch of groups?
Well, I think like, just like you want, you know, now we don't really like, you know, me and Todd Thomas, I don't know if you know him. He owns Rockwater Farms, and he's a big landscaper, but he's getting into lawn care. You know, that's all these big landscapers are getting into this shit. You know, they understand like, but you know, we were thinking like we might go to a Marty Grunder event, but actually not pay, just figure out which bar they're going to. And then just, that's where you learn shit, you know, but it's all about like, I would say even further now, like, it's who you associate with is probably one of the most important things. You know, if you associate with people, I mean, you kind of have to change. I mean, that you kind of have to move up. Like
Absolutely.
if your mindset's changing, you kind of have to be around people that mindsets. Like I just paid $100,000 for a coach, to help me with my online business model. Because I'm going to do online consulting, kind of whether it's in courses. I'm not sure what it looks like exactly. Maybe it's a mastermind group that costs $50,000 to be in.
Right.
You know, something like that. That would be really intellectually stimulating for me. And but you got to pay $50,000 to get in. Like, and part of that's I'm going to make money, but part of it's an entry fee. Like people that aren't serious and think that's a crazy number, I'm going to pay it. And they're not going to be in there.
So you brought up a good topic. Like when you go to these places, like you go into these groups, and not all the times you go to these conferences, you're going to learn a ton from the conference. But outside the conference is where you're going to learn the magic. Like that's when you get to have one-on-ones with people that are really big in the industry and learn from some of the best. Right? That's where the magic happens. I'm glad you.
Yeah, and maybe even like the guy that I'm working with is Josh Latimer, that owns
Bottleneck Breakthrough.
Gym. Yeah, and he's. But the people he hangs around, like fucking blow my mind. Like, I'm like, There's a whole different level. It doesn't even have to be lawn care. Like we're at the point now where we might, it's hard to find people in lawn care that want to spend the time from us because they might, and if they're smart, they'll see us as a threat. And because if we're willing to put that kind of money and time and everything into it, but and people that say like, y'all see all these people on the forums. They're like, "Hey, I'm looking for a free mentor," and it's like,
yeah,
number one, that doesn't work.
Yep.
Free advice is what it costs, is worth what it costs, And like whenever I give out, I try to help people on the side, just whatever to a degree, without losing my focus. And I mean, most of it's a waste of my time because there's no value to it.
Agreed.
But when you put that kind of money behind it, like. I guarantee you, like the amount of money I've spent with this guy is, I'm paying attention. I'm doing what he says to do. I'm doing.
And as wild as you may be, and how fun you may be to talk to, like we all know how super sharp you are. And when you start the grind, you're laser focused all the time. We had this smoking conversation the other day. I said you and I had this smoking conversation the other day. And I find it really interesting that, like I said, you might have to get into character, like you said. And if you look at all your marketing stuff, and like you said, it's not who you really are at the end of the day. When we sit down and chat, like you're just who you are. But when you get in focus mode, like you're a totally different person. You're laser focused. You're super intelligent. You're doing big things. So it's really impressive to watch.
Well, I appreciate it. That's a nice thing to say.
Of course. Since you're wearing your Maverick hat, and I called you Maverick once, what I found super awesome about your company is that how you came up with Maverick. Like we all know the guys that don't know, you're a pilot. We'll talk about that shortly. But in your company, your name is the Maverick, like on your hat, but you made every position along the lines of planes, right? Or something like that. Talk to me about that. What do you call like your CSRs and your sales guys? Like you have a name for each individual, almost like a football field or a football team has like a coach and they have like the players and like quarterback. Like you went in and you changed up the whole industry and you have it tied back to planes. Like explain that.
Well, I mean, a little bit of that. I mean, I like, and a lot of people are like, aviation is really expensive and all this bullshit. When I first got in it, like one of my clients was like, I'm like 28 when I'm 30, when I'm trying to buy my first plane. And the guy's like, there's some kind of joke like about aviation, like, I can't remember. It's fucking expensive is the point. And that's what he's telling me, like, you're just going to lose your ass because you're buying airplanes. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to fucking make money. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, watch. And I bought my first airplane for like, I think I paid $75,000 for it. And then, I sold it. No, I bought it for $65,000. Really nice airplane too. And 2-seater composite, fast, 135 knots, 6 gallons an hour, and I sold it for 67. And I'm like, not only I didn't lose money on that, I just that was a hint at proving the model, and I could have sold it. Then I figured out I could have sold it for 100,000. I'm like, fuck. Now I'm trying to buy that plane back for what I bought it for. God damn, I did that guy a favor. And the next plane I bought for like I made offers on them. I bought two DA-40s, one at 95 and one at 105. And I was making offers, like working people. And then like two planes are like, do you want to buy my plane? Do you want to buy my plane? And I'm like, yes, 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 and yes. I'll buy both of them. So I bought two fucking airplanes. And I'm like, well, I'll sell one and make money on it. So I made like 15, I don't know, I can't remember exactly. Maybe let's just say 15 grand on one. Kept the other one, sold it, made it 20 grand. And I'm like, damn, man, like, you know, but that's kind of a hassle, you know, buying planes for 15, 20 grand, you know, you're only making 15 grand and you kind of got to work the process. And then I learned how to work the process. And the next plane I bought was like, what'd I buy? Cirrus Cessna 22, paid 174. Now it's worth 300, you know, and granted I fucking blew the engine in the air. That sucked. You know, that part sucked. It would still be worth 300, but I put 70 in an engine and a prop. And, you know, we were flying like IFR one time. Is it okay? Do we have time for stories?
We got time.
I can make it quick.
We got time for stories. I love your stories.
Stay on point here.
You're good. We'll tie this back to the company soon.
Yeah. And so I was flying like IFR, which is like in the clouds. You can't see the ground. You can't see nothing. All you can see is fucking white out the window. And I'm flying a spray tech down to Tampa, Florida Sprayers, pick up a spray truck. And then I like the engine starts rattling. Like it was just like, I'm like, fuck. And I like look at my engine monitor and like two cylinders, like cylinder head temperatures, it should be like 300, now it's 0. I'm like, fuck, I just lost two cylinders. And my plane's got a ballistic parachute in it. So like, you know, like it's got a rocket that shoots out of the back of it and then it deploys and then a parachute will set the plane down. Right. And I'm with a spray tech and like psychologically you want to be ready to pull that chute. So I'm like pulling the strap off, pulling the cover off the chute. And he's like looking over me. He's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? I'm like, don't worry about it, man. And so I'm flying an approach. I'm like, you know, ATC, I got an emergency. I need to get on the ground. You know, I'm about to lose my engine. And so we're flying an approach down, which is basically a guided glide slope down where you hit these points at certain altitudes so you don't hit like fucking towers and shit and houses, you know, that's bad. And so we get down and like I pop out of the clouds and but I don't see the fucking runway. And I'm like, but I see the town. I'm like, fuck, I missed the goddamn runway. And there's a lot going on, you know. I mean, I'm trying not to fucking die. Yeah,
for sure.
And so I look back over my left shoulder and I see the runway back there. So I do like a 60-degree turn, and then that puts my lawn tech like above me. And I'm just looking up at him, and he's like, fuck, I'm going to die. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, man. I just lost $50,000, you dumb motherfucker. Like, that's all I can think of. I just lost 50 grand in my engine. I lost $50,000. You know, so I put it, flying a tailwind, land it. And he's like running off, like telling, I'm like, goddamn wife, but everybody around. And I'm like, I'm taking it to the mechanic. I'm like, what's the compression on these two cylinders? And he's like, 0. And I'm like, fuck. I'm like, I can't replace those two cylinders, can I? He's like, nope, too much metal in the engine. I'm like, $50,000. He's like, definitely. And I'm just like, fuck. And then my tech is like going to get cigarettes and like fucking he's just And but it ended up being 50,000. It ended up being fucking 70,000, you know? And but I wouldn't talk to anybody about it for like 2 months. My wife was like, everybody's calling me like a fucking hero. And I'm like, I fucking missed the runway, you motherfuckers. Like if I was a hero, I would have put it down the first time. But yeah, that was a good story.
Yeah, that's a good.
And story. I learned I care more about money than I care about life. I mean, that's the moral to that story.
We all know it's probably not true. But like to tie it back to the company, like I said, like you have individual like positions that are tied to like aviation. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Why do we call you Maverick?
Well, that's just my name. I was thinking about changing my name because if you think about like Rick, you just add a Mav on the front of that. Maverick, you know? Even if you like on my flight helmet, you cover up the Mav. But no, I think what you're talking about is like some of my salespeople. Actually, I declined the title of Maverick when it came to like sales because I have a salesman that closes 75.6%. And my graphic designer put me on the flyer, and I'm like, fuck. My sales guy's like, are you going to answer the phone? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to answer the phone. Like, and I'm like, you know, man, you should be the Maverick because you are our number one closer. And, you know, like empowering your people is like way more important than an ego. And like, you know, his wingman is named Iceman on the flyer, you know, so we got Maverick and you're going to talk to Maverick or Iceman. And I made him go and get in an airplane, take a picture of the headset on for the flyer. One of them like even did a discovery flight and, you know, like, aviation is kind of, you know, when you're trying to grow something, are you getting your pilot's license?
No, I'll just hang out with you.
Okay. Well, I can't fly all the way up there and fly you around, you know. I guess you could just fucking hire a pilot.
There you go.
Fuck it if you don't want to learn. But you know, when you have to travel around, like, it's a time machine. It gets me places very quickly. It allows me to spend more time with my family and work at other places. So and then there's guys in my company that want to learn how to fly, and nobody else does this, you know. So I just bought, and I've done it before. I bought an airplane for one of my guys to fly. He runs makeup for us. Very intelligent, smart guy. And I bought him a plane, but he was working too much. He never used it. So I ended up selling it. And I think he regrets not taking advantage of that opportunity. But I made 50 grand on that fucking airplane. Then I was like, holy shit, you can make 50 grand selling airplanes? Like, holy fuck. So then I bought like 5 last year, and I made a lot of money.
Well, that's where we met. Was it 2 weeks ago? You were coming down there to buy another plane. And you said that you're buying it for one of your managers so they can cruise around and get to locations. And so that's really, really cool. And we have a couple other friends that you and I know that do the same thing. They have a couple of locations. They hop on their plane. They can go from location to location. And you said it's a time machine. You can get anywhere you want to go that's relatively close in just a couple hours, where peasants like us, we have to drive in the car, you know?
Yeah, you nailed that one. You just call yourself a peasant?
I did.
Just like, yeah, pilots have been looking down on people since 1903.
And then, so like you have offices in Georgia, right? In Florida?
Yeah.
How many offices you at now?
Just 3. One is that we have Georgia's our biggest one, Macon, Warner Robins, and we have one in Daytona, but we also go up to St. John from Daytona. It's a little more difficult market. And then like Destin we've already hired, branch manager, salesperson. Tech is coming on board as soon as we start, and I don't know what it is, 13 days. We have zero clients. So, but that's going to be kind of a fun challenge, you know, and we've got a shop. We've got a badass shop you can walk to the beach from. I can drive my golf cart to my shop, ride my bike to my shop, you know, and I don't really have an office space yet, but that's why I'm kind of like, see where I'm at? I'm at like what am I at? I'm at a hotel. I kind of messed this up because I was planning on being at my office for this, but I mean, at my home, not my office. But like we've learned that like in Destin, you know, like not only can you like get free office space, because we just like go to different hotels and use their conference room. We just walk. We got like a couple different, like one really nice one over there. And then we figured out this morning, like there's complimentary breakfast, you know? So like, not only can we get like free breakfast and free conference rooms, like, I mean, fuck, it's saving that. It's like on the bottom line, I don't have to rent an office space. You know, I just kind of bounce around these different places, you know?
Yeah. Ingenuity. When you first start out, you gotta be,
I mean, I don't know. I may just want to do this forever. I don't know.
I like that. So with your planes, like how long does it take you to fly from one office to the next? Just like an hour, 2 hours?
Yeah. Hour and a half. If I drove, it'd be 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. When you just told me that you recruited a couple sales guys, a technician, and how did you pull that one off? Like you're new to the area. How did you recruit them?
Well, we had me and Damien and we do a little bit of pest control in Daytona already. We do like that's the technical term. It would be exterior perimeter pest control, right? We don't do termites there. We don't do bed bugs. You know, just kind of like an add-on service. But I've always had this thing in the back of my mind. In fact, I've already had the logo like 2 years ago, goodbyebug.com. Like, and you were thinking like, you know, lawn care and pest control, especially in Florida, it's like synonymous. You know, like both, like it's really one company, lawn and pest. But we decided to kind of break it out, like experts in lawn care, experts in pest control. And, you know, liquid lawn and pest just sounds retarded. You know, it just does. And I hate it. So now we're kind of like this and this. And so we're thinking about that. I wanted to do pest control in Destin pretty heavy because there's a lot of commercial stuff. There's condominiums. There's more like I'm sitting down there, working at a coffee shop and I'm looking around. I see like 2 patches of grass, but then I see like, you know, within my viewing distance, I probably saw 300 or 400, pest control potential prospects. Right. And so I'm like, well, I need to hire a salesperson. I'm going to hire a salesperson, a badass salesperson. And I remember this guy that came to my house 2 years ago and gave us a WDO. He was sharp. And I knew where he worked. I kind of knew I I didn't really know the owner. I was friends with him on Facebook. And, you know, I figured out that he was a little bit unhappy because they got bought out by private equity 3 months ago. And so I had him over to my house, called him over to my house to do a termite inspection. And, you know, and I'm like, I have a YouTube video of it where I'm like, I had some coaching on it. One of my friends is a professional sales coach, and for pharmaceutical companies, he's like fucking brilliant. And he was like, tell me how the scenario to get him to my house. And I was like, well, let's video record that because I want to copy it like word for word. That was so good. And he was like, are you going to put me on the fucking internet? And I'm like, no, put you on the internet, man. I want to copy that. That was so good. And so like, I studied that. And so like the lady answers the phone and she's like, and I'm like, she puts me on hold for like, it rings like 7 times. And I'm like, this is fucking bullshit. Like if that other guy was running this company instead of private equity, you would answer on the first ring. And like, right as I said bullshit, she answered. She was like, she started laughing. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like curse that dude. Like, so I got to start it off on the right foot. And then I was like, look, I need your help with something. And she's like, what do you need my help with? And I'm like, well, you see, we had this guy come over to our house a couple of years ago, give us WDO, and I'm ready for install the termite base stations and everything. But you see, my wife, she's really, really picky. And it's got to be this one guy. I don't know his name. I don't know. Like, it's got to be his guy. And she's like, okay, well, let me look it up on my files. And she's like, is it Art? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds right. She's like, I'm like, what's his last name? So I got his name, you know, Art Moore, and I'm videotaping all this shit, smart. You know, and just as a sales tool for other guys, you know, and then she's like, well, he's not your service, you know, that's not his area anymore. And I'm like, well, I mean, we might have a deal breaker here. My wife, you have not met her, but you know women, and she was a woman. She was like, I was kind of offending her in a fun way, you know, and I was like, I'm sorry, you slap, and then she's like, well, let me see if I can get him on the phone. And so she puts me on hold for like 5 minutes, and then she calls back and she's like, how's Thursday at 9? And I was like, perfect. And so I met him out there at Thursday at 9. And 2 hours later, I was going to send him an employment agreement. So I paid for the termite. I didn't want to waste the guy's time. I paid $1,300, which is, you know, for the termite. You know, I'm not going to waste this guy's time. I'm going to prove I'm serious. But within 2 days, like that night, the night after, he had signed an employment agreement with us. And then he's like, Rick, do you need 2 more salespeople? And I'm like, where at? And he's like, in Georgia. And I'm like, where at in Georgia? Like, well, they all live in Griffin. It's like 45 minutes from your shop. And I'm like, yeah. I called Damien and I'm like, are you ready to go into pest control? Like, this is the time. And he's like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, Georgia's a great market too.
Yeah. So we hired 2 like professional sales. These are the top 3 in the entire $10 million company. And so I had the top 3 salespeople. And I was able to convert them pretty fast. Like within a day or 2, they jumped on board. Because, you know, private equity scares the fuck out of people when they go and strip companies and do all this crazy shit just to turn a quick profit and dump it again, you know? And this was a family owned business. Like all the people were really tight and it was really well run. The person that ran it, I really respect. And so then they're like, you need a branch manager? And I'm like, yeah, we could use a branch manager. I'll move Damien. Damien runs our Macon location. We'll move him to COO. That's his title's already COO in the emails. Right. That's our vision. So I like get him. It took me a while to get him because it wasn't about the money for him. I mean, he was underpaid, but then like you got to figure out what people want. And a lot of times, like my interest aligns with Brock's. I just have to figure out what it is exactly that makes them tick. You know, and his thing was like employee morale, and his passion in life was like building young men up. And he'd already raised three you know men that got their degree and did it. And, you know, we related on like a really, really vulnerable. I was vulnerable with them. I told them about my history, why I want to build this company. Number 3 is money. You know, it's not number 1 is not money. It's number 3. You know, and so we just connected on that route. And he's like in a place to build our people, and that was something we're missing. And I was just like, you know, like Damien's more analytical, and he gets frustrated with employees like just him investing and then them bucking him. But that's part of the game, you know? And so we employed him, and then they were like, you need our lead lawn tech. And I'm like, yeah. And then I heard from the other guys, like he is just like has the best he wins best customer service skills all the fucking time. And then when I met him, I understood. Like they were like, when you meet him, you understood. He's like a fucking young Andy Griffith, you know? I'm like, God damn, this guy's personable. Like he's just a wonderful, wholesome young man, you know? And I mean, he's not that young, but And then then they got a general manager that runs the whole fucking operation, you know? And I'm like, and they came in and fired her. There's this company, Rocket, fired her. She was running the whole $10 million operation. She was at the top, right below the CEO. And I'm like, man, we could use that kind of organizational structure. Like going forward right now, you know, get SOPs mapped out, get all this shit. Like me and I don't know about you. Do you like right now SOPs?
No, that's why I hired it out.
Yeah, I fucking hate it too. So I was like, God damn, this is perfect, you know? So we ended up I hired her within 2 days and I spent 3.5 hours interviewing her. And I think once you do like so many interviews, you get to a point where you're just blunt with people. Like, this is what do you want? You know, here's what I want. What do you want? Like, and a lot of times when you play this game of like, you know, trying to be sneaky and you know, like it's not sneaky, but you're scared to be like, what do you want? Like, let's figure it out. Like, what do you want? Where do you want to go? Like, and how do we get there? By the end of the thing, I knew everything. I knew what she wanted. She knew what I wanted. And, you know, the next day she's like kind of starting to get plugged into this stuff, you know, and she's like, and I was going to meet her before I sent not a purchase agreement. It's not what you do with employees. You don't purchase them. What do? You employ them. Employment agreement, you know? So like I sent her like this fucking, and then I haven't sent her one. I was going to meet her first. And then she's like, man, will you send me this document that you're working on? Like all the like, we're like conceptualizing how we're going to do pest control, how everything's going to be structured. She was like getting pulled into that because all of her former, you know, working associates were doing it. And I was like, well, before I can send you this agreement, I'm either going to have a non-compete, an NDA, or an employment agreement signed. And she was like, okay, send it. And I'm like, which one? And she was like, the latter. And I was like, so I just like took 2 hours, sat down, and I already have like all these templates of doing things. You just got to go in and change them. And, you know, I sent it to her and got her. And that was one of the things where I was like, fuck, I know what kind of personality type she is. Like she's a ENTJ, and my other guy's an ENTJ, and I have some ISTPs, you know, so like on an intellectual level, I'm like building like a massive C-suite. You know, I'm an INTJ, which means like basically I'm an architect. And so like I'm in my best place when I'm putting all these people together, all these things. Like I don't want to get nitty gritty on these things. I will if I have to understand it, how it works, but I don't want to do that every day, you know? So like, it just kind of gives me chills when I think, holy shit, like we may be a $5.2 million company, but like in my head, we're already at 10, you know? And what we're building is like, we might be good to 15, you know? I mean, I think Seth will help us like kind of map that out in the future, but like,
I think that girl, like you said, I've got a lot of notes there, but that girl right there, she's already been to 10. So that girl alone can take you to 10. And she'll probably get you to 15. Will she be the person to get you 15 to 30? Like, who knows? But she might be. But
you know, the funny thing is, you know how old she is?
28.
27.
That's impressive. Those are hard to come by. So you did a killer job there. So basically one person turned into 5.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3. It's 7 right now.
And then it all started out with you calling another company to get that sales guy.
Yeah.
I love how your brain works. You're a straight up visionary. You're a lot like myself. And you said something that you bought a website 2 years ago before you even were going to use it. And before this, we were talking, I said, yeah, I bought this website 2 years ago for the same platform. Like, I love how you operate like that. Like, there's not very many people who has bigger goals in life than I do, but I think I may have met my match with this guy. Like, you're a straight up visionary. I love it.
When you told me your goal, I was like, I want to hang out with this motherfucker. and I did. I fucking crashed your lunch party the other day.
You sure did. You showed up in your plane, and all the next thing you know, you're in Florida, and we're hanging out for lunch. And we had a good time. It was fun, and that's how we got connected with this and get this rolling so people could hear us talk. You also mentioned you have a YouTube. Do you do a lot of YouTube? Do a lot of video?
I don't do a lot. Like, I experimented with a little bit. I like on the coaching side, on the online business, I've kind of funnel several different of my. I don't want to call them. I just want to call them other people in my space. You know, I don't really consider them competitors. They're doing a little bit different
There's
things.
There's millions of people, right?
Like Tigran Gertz.
Yep,
you know, Tigran. I don't know if you heard of Goat Gang.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I respect his story, and
Me
you know,
too.
and like I actually hired him to do an hour consultation with me, and I'm like, it ain't about fucking landscaping. It's about what you've done with your group.
Yeah.
And I talked to him. He's a cool dude.
Tigran's awesome. I know Tigran pretty well.
Yeah, and you know, and then I've done other things like Sean Whalen, I think he's like really big in his space. He's kind of offensive. Like he proves you can be offensive and be successful. Like, I don't mean that sense of, I mean, I think there's a thirst out there for people that are transparent, blunt, and not scared to say what they think. Like this, you know, I know your podcast is named Politically Correct Millionaire, but I just saw PC, man. That's all I could think of is PC. Like, I got to be PC. You know,
probably just because the election was just the other day. That's probably why you're thinking that way.
I just think it's funny. I think you should name it that, Politically Correct Millionaire. And then like when people come on here, they're like, "Fuck, this ain't politically correct."
Yeah, this ain't for me. So you use the YouTube and video for more of the consulting side of the business, but not so much for lawn care, right?
Yeah. Like, well, back to that. I looked at what Tigran, like, I know, like, I hired a videographer to kind of go behind me for a couple of days. And like, I didn't realize how much work Tigran puts in. Like, he has a videographer follow him around all fucking day. And I'm like, I'm not having my fucking life ruined like that. So I'm like, eventually, like, I'm compiling videos for a YouTube channel, like how to grow a pest control company from $0 to $1 million in 1 year. Yeah. That's my goal. I'm just compiling little bits, and it may be stupid, it may fail, but I think that's my goal, is like from zero, like our third location, I want to go from $0 to an $83,000 run rate by December 31st.
Sweet.
And I think that would just be cool.
Yeah. I mean, we did it in less than 18 months. So you can definitely do it.
But did you do it you didn't do it in 12?
No, we were at 18, but we went to 0 to 3. Okay. We went to 0 to.
Well, I just want to make sure. I didn't know if anybody done it yet.
Well, we went from
that really sucked.
Well, our second office went from 0 to 3 million in 14 and a half months. So
what?
We were cruising.
Hold on, tell me that. You say that again?
We went from 0 to 3 million in our second office in 14 months.
Did you acquire somebody?
I did not.
You went from 0 to 3 million. God damn it. You're going to ruin my YouTube channel with Jonas.
No, just link me in and I'll help you.
You better not make that offer, because I'll fucking take you up on it.
Let's do it. Another thing that you brought up too, like you hated the lawn and pest in the name. Like in what we found out too, and a lot of people in our industry are doing that. Like they're lawn and pest. So like, yeah, they go out there, they spray the lawn, and they do like a little perimeter treatment around their house, and they charge them like $40. Yeah, you're going to get customers that way, but that's probably not the customer that you want when it comes to pest control. So we did the exact same thing you're talking about. We literally split them up. We have different websites for each. One's, turf badger, one's pest badger. They all connect to the same spot, because we're actually more of a pest control company now than we were a lawn care company. We're at 80% pest control and 20% lawn. And we found out the same thing. As a lawn care company, it's damn near impossible to acquire pest control clients. So we did the same thing. We split them up and like, okay, we're going to focus on pest control. This guy's going to focus on lawn. And that's how we did it. So like we were struggling. I know a lot of our friends struggle. Like no one wants to hire a lawn care company or thinks of a lawn care company could come to your pest control. So just because you added pest to your name, you're not going to get the clients. You can run like an upsell email campaign. And like I said, you can charge them $50, $60 to go do an exterior treatment. Running at the same time, you got your big tanker trucks out there and split tank, and you can do it that way. It's just not going to be probably the clientele that you're trying to go after.
It's kind of like, you have an upsell, and our upsell rate's like 15, 16%.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's all it can be. I don't know. It just seems like I'm the same way with you. Like I saw one of my good friends in Atlanta owns a landscape company. It's well run, and she would kind of like market her different things. Like her lawn maintenance would have its own branding, like its own kind of service, whatever it was. And then her irrigation would be like hydro, hydro, not hydro wise, but something like that. And you segmented it out, and she used like Compass for her marketing. So they're pretty way fucking overpriced, but they're smart guys, and I think it makes perfect sense to me, just like it does you, and I mean, I don't have a cool name like Badger. I mean, ever since I saw that fucking Badger video, man, I'm just like, God damn, what is Jonas trying to say here? Is he like saying he's like a fucking, like if you cross you, am I going to get fucking bit? It might be.
Maybe
you might get bit if you cross Jonas.
Maybe it's just because I'm small and feisty.
I don't know. I guess, man. I don't even, after I saw that, like, Badger latch onto some dude's nipple, I was like, God damn, them some mean son bitches, So I mean, I think that's cool because, like, like, what do you like your mindset? Like, is Badger part of your mindset?
No, it's funny. So Wisconsin is known for the Badgers, Wisconsin Badgers. We didn't have an office there yet at the time. So when we were thinking through the name, we were just trying to connect our name to what's relevant in the area. Everything is green down there because of the Green Bay Packers. Like, we just want to be different. So we went with the pink route, and we named that specific name because it just tied in with all of Wisconsin. So that's one reason that we did it.
Are all badgers mean, or is it just honey badgers?
I'm pretty sure they're all mean, but that honey badger, he's vicious for sure.
That's what I was thinking. That honey badger, that's a mean motherfucker.
But you brought up.
But I think like.
Go ahead.
Well, I think like on that mindset thing, like, you know, when you told me your goals, I was kind of thinking like, you know, like having the mindset of like, let's say like millionaire, like, you know, a bunch of people, you don't have to be having that good of a mindset to be a millionaire, but to be, when you frame it as like a billionaire mindset. And I know that's a big word to throw around, and I'm not doing it lightly. I don't know if I have the mental aptitude to ever get to that point, but to have that mindset and think that way, like tenacious, and like people that hang around billionaires are like, you know, I think they get fucking pissed off when they get distracted. You know, it's not like they're ADHD like this, you know, like, oh, but I know we struggle a little bit with that, but like when I get, like, my wife called me yesterday, I knew what she was fucking complaining about. And I'm like, I'll talk about it at night. Like, I'm fucking, leave me the fuck alone. Like, I'm pissed off and I'm focused and I want to maintain this mindset for the rest of the day. And like, I mean, what do you think about like that kind of mindset?
I agree. Like, I get frustrated when like my phone rings and I'm really trying to focus on something, and like it happened the other day and we were working. I got so irritated that I just shut it off. Like, I'm just trying to work right now and I'm just super focused. And you get in like that, like you said, in that mind frame of like nothing, you can't hear it, like a zone, right? Like you can't hear anything outside. Like you're just zoned right in, and you can only be in that mental state for, I don't know, a couple hours a day, I think, for myself anyway. And when I get in that zone, I just don't want to be bothered. Like, and that's when we make like our biggest moves during the day. Like, we're really focused on the things that are going to take us, to the next few levels. And we're thinking outside the box, and we're working 5 years ahead of us where we already are now. So yeah, I feel the same way. And so I'm the same way when
what's your Myers-Briggs? What's your Myers-Briggs personality?
I've never taken one. I've just done the Colby test, where I'm straight up visionary and implementer. I've never done the Myers-Briggs.
I'd be interested to know what your Myers-Briggs would be.
Probably similar to yours, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I find it hard to work on things now, like for the now. Like we're working on things, 1, 2, 3, 5 years out. Like everything that we've already done now has already been done already. So the things that we're working on now, I did 5 years ago. And so the things that I'm currently working on are 3 to 5 years out. It's just a plan that we're working on. So like, I don't get tied in the minutia of operations and things like that anymore. Like, we have a plan that we're executing, and I got to work that thing backwards, right? Like, okay, we're opening up this office, this office. What do we need to go open up those offices? And then that's kind of what we do on a daily basis. And then kind of like you with the content, like we've been really focusing on our video content, which I'm sure you know that.
Right.
And really trying to scale that for the same reason, just put our name out there. And it's going to be, content is king, but when we're going to go other markets, like other people already know us when we get there, because we're doing a good job on social media.
Well, and I think, one of the things I didn't realize that would be so powerful about like social media, I picked one platform and kind of stick on it. It's Facebook. And that's one strategic method, is like, just pick one, whatever you're good at, and you kind of don't deviate, and you focus on that, produce good, and my Facebook is mine. But like, some of the connections I made, just like I'm building an audience for an online consulting business at some point.
Yep.
And, but then some of the connections I made through I have a little private group. It's free. It's lawnlogic.com with a dash in the middle. But it's free, and I'm just building like I'm just assembling my people, and, but one thing I didn't realize was like the massive amount of opportunity that comes from just that. Like, when some people start hearing about you, they're gonna be like, hey man, buy me out. Let me work for you. Especially when you do kind of the same thing with me as far as like partnership agreements. And, like those people just come out of the woodwork. And then I think it can exponentially multiply your success, just having those contacts across the entire country.
Yeah. It attracts attention, right? And they want to learn from someone who's been there and done it. And
like I was thinking about starting one in Australia just to like say I did it, you know.
Give it a shot. What's holding you back?
But I'm kind of joking, but I'm kind of like, I know a guy down there, you know, and he's like messaging me, like asking me all these things. I just thought it was interesting. I don't take too many phone calls because I'm so focused on what we're doing. But that guy was kind of interesting. And so I took it. And then sometimes I stay up late, like, well, all the time to like 2 a.m. or something. And
yeah, you know, you'll text me like, Jonas, why are you awake at 3 a.m. right now?
Yeah. I don't know if you just woke up or if I'm like, what fucking time zone is he in, you know? Because
there's not many people awake at that time with us, is there?
Yeah, no. And I saw you on there. I saw you post something on a thing. I knew you posted like 3 minutes ago. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing up? You know? But here I am, like, it was like daylight in Australia. So it was like, I was talking to him from 12 to 2 one morning. And I was like, man, there's some amazing opportunity in Australia. Because like, they said they're about 10 or 15 years behind us. Fuck, it looks like further behind us in pest control. Like they're like, they don't even have pest control setups over there, you know? And I'm like, I got this young kid that's driven and how old are you?
38.
Okay. Yeah. He was 30. So like, I guess we're allowed to call people that young kids now.
We are.
Maybe. But you know, it's just kind of interesting the reach that you can have on social. If you want to start a branch in Australia, you could, you know, like, and it might be one of the best places in the world to start one, you know, because there's no fucking competition over there.
Yeah, it's like blue ocean. They're so powerful, right? Like it's just a click of a button. You can be in front of millions of people. It's pretty impressive. Where did you come up? Like when did you come up with this mindset thing, or have you always thought this way, or is it something that you graduated into?
I think you graduate into it and then you figure out like it's actually pretty hard because like at our level, like I'm going to guess there's not too many people that give you edification.
Right.
You're probably alone. Like when I told, like I wrote out my one of my coaches told me to write out my obituary and like, but I like to take things a little bit further. I was like, well, let's not do an obituary. Let's do my fucking funeral, you know? And I started playing some like Brave. I was telling my coach when he was reading this, I was like, you gotta listen to this song on Brave, like on the Braveheart soundtrack, because like bagpipes make everything better, you know. And so we're like, but I'm gonna be buried on like the top of a mountain, right? And it's only gonna be accessible through helicopter. So, and I'm sure that like it's probably cheap. You don't even have to build fucking roads up there, you know. And like at my funeral, you know, everybody's gonna kind of like. And I'm going to charge for my funeral. Like, if you want to go to it, you're going to have to pay for it. Okay, it's $250,000. Like to be there in person, it'll be $25,000 virtually. And because that, you know, but I'm not doing it for me. You know, I'm doing it for like people that want to come, or I'm not people that want to come. I'm doing it for like I want to set up a foundation when I die that you know helps entrepreneurs that don't want to go to college and as seed money for them and. Because that would be my final fuck you to the system. Be like, fuck you teachers, fuck you colleges, fuck you career centers. We don't have a fucking career, you know, like fuck you, man. Fuck all these people. And that'll be my final fuck you to the world. And but then they're gonna bury me on the mountain. And I told somebody that and they're like, because I was like, the whole life it's been kind of lonely going up the mountain. And then they're like, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. Like I didn't know you were that lonely. And I'm like, dude, I've been fucking lonely for 20 years and now I'm kind of like, I kind of fucking enjoy it. You know, like I love the quietness of the mountain. I love the you know, climbing up the mountain and like, you know, dying on top of the mountain is kind of, you know, that's kind of where I want to rest.
Yeah. And
in fact, I was flying up to like Virginia the other day and I'm kind of like looking out the window and I'm like, that'd be a good spot right there, you know?
Yeah. And they say it's lonely at the top and, it's lonely on the way up too, because there's just not a lot of people that think the way you think, and that you even want to tell because they'll shoot your idea right down, you know. And you got to protect yourself against.
Sure, absolutely.
You have to protect those people, and it's never going to be the people that are in front of you. It's always going to be people that are next to you and behind you. That's where your haters come from. But so if you don't have haters, you're probably not doing something right.
Yeah, it's just I guess the hardest part is not really the haters. You know, because I can like on social media and stuff, I can use haters. Yeah. Like they're actually the most fun to use because haters are elevators, you know, and if you use them right. But you know, you're right. To me, it's like the people closest to us that are like you're dumb, and you're like I told one of my guys I'm going to make $100,000 a month off an online business one day. And he was like, you're fucking stupid. And I'm like, no, the fuck I'm not.
Yeah.
And then like, once I get into the business, like, and I meet people, they're like, dude, there are people that make $1 million a month. There's people that make $1 million a fucking week. Like that's not a crazy goal. That was actually pretty realistic.
Right.
And I mean, I haven't done it yet, but I've conceptually proven. I've had a paid group and I've had people pay to get in it. And then several things I failed a couple times. You know, and I was in one group and they fucking kicked me off. And they had 10 people in the group, and you know how many they sold?
0.
You know how many I sold?
How many?
I sold every fucking one of them. 10. I sold all of them. Then they kicked me off because they didn't, you know, I'm abrasive. I'm you know, but I'm like, I don't know why they kicked me off. I think they were threatened. But am I allowed to mention their name? Would that be savage?
I don't care.
Don't give a fuck. It's Carson Jones and Chester Brzezinski. Very small-minded motherfuckers. So if you're joining their group, just think of that. I mean, I do have something against them personally, because I think the way they handled that transaction, they just canceled my agreement, and they told me if I defame their group, they will not pay me. And I'm like, it was like over $2,000. They didn't understand. I already spent $2,000 on a lawyer figuring out how to fuck them. You know, not fuck them, but like, it's about the principle. You know, at some point. And I think, you know, I like giving people, like helping people as much as I can and giving them my whole heart. But like, if you cross me, you know, like, you're fucking dead to me, and it's fun to like fuck with you from now on, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, so there's millions of businesses out there. There's millions of coaches out there. There's plenty of room for everyone. So they don't have to be so small-minded, you know?
Yeah.
And
just the way they handled that was kind of like, you know, and they took all the people in that group and just like, but they don't know how to grow it. They're still at 10, 3 months later. You know, I picked up 10 in basically 1 or 2 weeks, right. You know, and, but I just proved the concept once. I've proven it a couple of times. My own personal private group is free now. It was a paid like $100 a month group. And then I figured out like Tigran does a very good job on his group, like at $100. Like, but he's a fucking maniac. Like, I don't think people understand like how hard he works and how much vision he pumps into that thing. He gives shit away. Like, he's always like, to keep $100 a month group rolling like that is a shit ton of work. Yeah,
he's throwing $10,000 up in the air. The goat gang's chasing it around. He's giving away trucks. Like, he's killing it. Like, I like Tigran. I have tons of respect for him. He's doing big things for sure.
Yeah.
But like, let's go back to the whole mindset thing for a second. We said you kind of grow into it, right? And you climbing the mountain, and you get to certain levels, and then you got to surround yourself with other people and learn more. And you're going to have those people who are chirping in your ear that say you can't do it. And you said that guy said that you couldn't do it. And you're like, okay, yeah, I can. Did you do anything about that guy? Did you remove him from your inner circle? Anything like that?
No, I mean, I think he's like, I mean, because I think you have to get, and in fact, that was the guy that runs Macon for us. You know, like he's fucking intelligent in other areas. Like he's a fix shit today guy, yeah. You know, and I'm just like you, I fix shit. But at the same time, I need somebody to keep an eye on today. Yeah. You know, and he's that perfect person. He's just not as like, he's just a different mentality. And like, that's why it hurts. It hurts so much sometimes, because like even my wife will be like, don't associate me with my, like, don't associate your Facebook profile with mine. And I'm like, fuck. She's like, you need to stop cursing so much. I'm like, what the fuck? You know? Yeah. You know, and I'm like, that's who I am. And that's who I relate to, is like people like that are lawn guys. Like, I call myself a yard man. That's what I am. You know, that's what, like, when I call you, if you don't have my number saved, like my AT&T number, like I figured it out, it'll say yard man. So if you guys see yard man calling you, that's me. That's so awesome. That's who I am. Yeah. You know, and I want to pick people up that I was that guy, you know, at 18 years old, getting made fun of by teachers, you know, bringing my trailer to school with my lawnmower equipment. They're like, you know, you should be playing football. You should be doing what everybody else doing. I'm like, I make more money than you, motherfucker. Like, shut the fuck up and let me do my thing. And that. You know, and but that's my people. It's the hug. I don't care what revenue level you're at, really. I want to know, like I love people that are like, what's the least amount of money I can live on to grow my business? I'm like, I don't care what revenue level you are. Like, you are my people, yeah. Right there.
Yep. I love that. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself as an entrepreneur?
I don't know. I think I tried as hard as I could from then. And it takes time to like get, and I think the other thing is like with social media and YouTube and everything that's out now, like it's kind of a hack. Everything out there to grow is available and free.
Absolutely.
And I didn't have that growing up. And I don't know if I could have done anything with it at that point, but I don't regret anything I've done.
Enjoyed the journey
even though
of learning.
Yeah. I mean, it was, if I could have done it over, I would have, if I knew what I knew now, it'd be a lot faster, but, I might've been not scared to dream as big. I might not have been, I'm just getting down to the point now where like, I'm starting to trust myself, like to what I think could happen in 3 or 4 years. Like, cause you don't want to, I don't like mentioning that to people because sometimes it scares them. And sometimes it's like, they think I'm full of shit. They think, but like, if you think about like Elon Musk, like he's like the ultimate visionary, right? But it's kind of a fine line between charlatan and visionary, like some people call him a charlatan, but he's like, he knows like to push things as hard as he can. Like he has to be like almost unbelievable because he'll never, if you don't have a target, you'll never hit it,
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like I said, if you don't have the roadmap, you don't know where to go.
Right.
You have to have the roadmap. So to be a visionary, to say, hey, this is where we're going to be in 10 years, then you can create the map of how to get there.
Right.
But not a lot of people think like that. And it's super awesome to see that, to actually talk with someone else who's like on the same path as we are. It's super fun.
And I think you're doing a better job of like mapping it out. Like I felt like I finally got someone that's kind of like, she's like, I want to understand your vision and then let me map it out. And because I'm not very good at mapping out, I'm just like I just think of like, like a jet engine or something. I'm like, what is full throttle on this motherfucker? And let's just point it in like this general direction and then just put the fucking throttle as far forward as it'll go.
Yeah. Before the podcast started, you said that you had a couple of questions for me. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about that you want to ask?
Yeah. For my own personal, my selfishness. Like I think it's really interesting. Like, when you said you did 3 million in 14 months, did you have zero contacts when you did that? Like zero people? Like, is that a new market or do you have something you were cross selling or what? No. Was it zero? Cause I've heard about you, in other circles. They're like, have you heard of that Jonas guy? And I'm like, you talking about that motherfucker with like the pink tennis shoes? And they're like, yeah, that guy. And I'm like, oh, I saw that picture of him. It's kind of weird, but, and they're like, I didn't know your company color was like pink. I was like, why is this dude wearing fucking pink shoes? And I knew you at Service Autopilot. Like I knew of you, and I knew you were in a different crowd or something. But you were like now you're on like a whole different fucking plane. Like there, like we were both like little guys there, and then now we're like. But I want to know like. What was your process? What was your number one most important thing to grow in that thing from 0 to 3 million in 14 months?
Believing in myself.
I mean, that's kind of cliche. Can you reword that a little bit?
Yeah. So like I got super focused and I go back into the story. Like I just quit drinking cold turkey. Like not that I drink a lot, but I would just get home and have a few drinks and then I'd just be stressed out. Finally got to the point where I need to stop all this and get ultra focused.
Why? Let's go into that a little bit. Cause I'm kind of interested there too. Like why did you quit drinking and what do you think the benefits of it are? Do you not drink today?
No, not at all. It's been 2 years. 2 years. So over 2 years now, 2 years in July. But like, for instance, I would be having a conversation the following day after, a night out with the boys. And I'd be talking in the middle of talking. I would like almost lose what I was like. I forgot what I was talking about. Like I would just space out. It was really strange how it affected me. And like, but as I got older, it would last like 3-4 days. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore, And then I just felt like shit for all the time. And then like, I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't taking care of my body. And I always lifted weights, but I didn't like really take care of myself. And then once I made that switch, I really started taking myself seriously. I believed in myself more. I got ultra focused. Instead of spending time drinking, I was spending time reading books, learning more content. And I think all that played a huge, I couldn't have done it without quitting drinking. So that was probably the number one thing. And then reading books and like a book that I read that was really impactful was like about thinking bigger. I can't remember exactly what the title was. I have to go look, but about thinking.
How do you read? Do you read audibly and visually? Or?
Both. Sometimes I'll be doing both at the same time. So like I'll have the book.
I heard that from Alex Hormozy the other day. He's like, read both. Really? And I was like, damn.
Yeah.
He's like, your brain will it receives the information differently and it'll stick better.
Yeah. The book was called The Magic of Thinking Bigger. And one of the first things that Jonathan ever told me was think bigger. I'm from the small town of like 14,000 people. I had never been anywhere. And then like, okay, everyone's always like, oh, Jonas, you were born and raised here. You couldn't go do it somewhere else. Like you knew everyone here. It was way easier for you to do it. You know, all the bullshit. Like, cause they didn't go do it. They don't think you can do it again. So I was like, well, shit. COVID hit and I couldn't work in Michigan. So Wisconsin was open. And Wisconsin was only 45 minutes from me. Green Bay was 2 hours. That was the closest big town I could go to. So that's where I went. And I started knocking doors, talking to people. And next thing you know,
what's your, well, I want to get into that in a minute. Now that I'm running this fucking podcast. All right, Jonas, I'm with Jonas Olson here. You know, like, I think, like I quit drinking back in, I've done it before. Like I've quit drinking for a year just to prove I can do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, you know, I fucking like dopamine. I'm not going to lie. Like them people that are like drinking is bad. It doesn't, you know, you need to train yourself that it's not, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's fucking good, man. That's why everybody fucking drinks,
Absolutely.
You know? And, but I think there are consequences for that. And, you know, for me, it was like my family and, you know, I didn't want to risk my pilot's license or like, you know, like when I drink, like I'm like one of those drinkers. I can like, if you put a pint in front of me, I'll fucking down that shit.
Right.
And I'll like, I might end up in like a different fucking, you know, state passed out somewhere, you know, like, I don't, you know, like and it's a lot of fucking fun. That's the problem. Like, it's a lot of fun, but like when it comes down to like, I can't read, like I won't be reading. And I think I wanted to get to like the point of like why you drink, because like, I think this could help a lot of people out there because like when I drink, like it makes me like, I have a thirst for like conversations like this. And like, and I'm sure it's the same for you, it's hard to find people to have conversations like this, and alcohol can take us a level down. And so I could have a good time talking to people when I'm drinking because it numbs my mind. And it also, like when I get home from work and I'm tired of my mind, like running. And then when you get home, you're like, you know, going on something else.
Yeah.
And if you're like, sometimes you get frustrated, and if you drink, like it kind of relaxes you and chills. But I think that's like a cop out for like, you know, just, you know, if you have this mind, you know, maybe it's a blessing to have this mind.
It is.
And, you know, maybe you just work till 2 a.m. every morning and you pass out from exhaustion, not alcoholism. You know?
And that's what it was for me too. Like the brain didn't shut off. So that was one of the things that helped me shut it off. Like I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't understand it myself, and I didn't know how to control it. And so you're 100% spot on. And that's one of the main reasons I did it. Like, that's why I was drinking.
Let me ask you this. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Extrovert.
You think?
Yeah.
You sure? How do you recharge? Do you recharge around people or by yourself?
Around people.
Okay. See, I'm the opposite. So I'm like, I recharge. I'm an introvert. So I recharge by myself, like alone. And, so like drinking would help me. Like I'm not real good in groups of people. So like if I drink, then I'm like, it just takes all my fucking inhibitions. I mean, just like my filter just kind of disappears, which is like, I don't know, it's even worse than it is now.
One of the other things that I noticed when I was drinking too, is I'd be at the bar with the boys or whatever. And I would just tell them like my whole playbook. Like I'd be too open, you know? And then I didn't like that part. I'm like, man, why am I telling these people anything that I plan on doing? Whether they liked it or not, most of them didn't. But like, why am I going around telling all these people like my goals and like my ambitions, like what I'm doing next? Like I'm from that point forward, I just kind of kept it more to myself and my inner circle and my team. Like this is what we're going to do. And I was kind of telling to the world and I just didn't care for that anymore.
You know, well, I mean, I think you could broadcast your plans and nobody's going to fucking do them. You know,
like, for sure.
You know, like you could tell everybody all the, you know, it's implementation and all that perseverance and all these other things, you know, like I don't think 99% of people have. But, you know, I just think that's really interesting Cause I kind of have a maybe addictive personality that wants to like, but it can't, if you funnel it in the right way, it can make you, it's like ADHD in a way. Like, there's a lot of people that are billionaires that are ADHD, but they figured out how to funnel it in. Cause I feel like the opposite of like, ADHD maybe like kind of bounce around things, but then once you find something that's really intriguing, I feel like you can just like, you have a focus that no one else has.
That's exactly what I have. Like I knew I was ADHD in high school. They tested me and I just lied about it. Like I didn't want to take pills or nothing. And then I was bounced all over the place. Like, and that's kind of like after high school, like I kind of got lost for a minute because I had such big plans, but I didn't have the mechanism to take me where I wanted to go. And I was just trying to find myself. But then once I found business and I loved it so much, it was all over from then. Like that was my new thing. Like I was ultra focused, like this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. There's very little information out there about ADHD. And like, I happened to run across this one YouTube channel. He had this really unique plane. Like it was like, it had a turbine engine in it, but it was like a short field takeoff, kind of like a Cub, like a backcountry plane. But he had so much power and he re-engineered the whole thing himself where he could basically turn it into a helicopter. Like he could just land and like he would win it every short field landing contest. He could put it down like 10 feet. But he built the plane himself and his brother, they both in business together. And I think they developed some kind of plastic waffles that filter out water from a hydrofracking oil thing. Anything to do with oil, like people bank, man. And but his brother wrote a book on like how to deal with ADHD, and he's like, man, this is a gift. It's not, all these people are killing you up and doing all this shit. And he's like, this is a gift if it's learned right. Like, and he's like, the alternative is like the ADHD people, like some of them get into alcoholism, they get into drugs, they get into all these things. But if you harness this fucking wonderful ability of like, and I think just reframing like ADHD, if you have ADHD out there, like congratulations, you have a fucking lottery ticket, and you just have to go flip it. From whatever all this society tells you you're fucked up and you got to be on pills and all this stuff, is our society just isn't built for people like you. We need to, like this guy's book, and you look at what he does and you get like, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Like he is so fucking wealthy, but his mind is just like, like he's building all kind of shit in his shop. Airplanes. This motherfucker's building like custom built airplanes, making the parts himself. Like it's amazing.
If you could tell a young entrepreneur that's watching this show some advice, what would you give them? We've talked about a lot, but if you could really like just tell the young kid that's just starting out, got 100 clients, wants to get more, preparing him for what the journey that he's on, or what would you tell that guy?
Well, I kind of wrote my manifesto the other day, and that was part of my homework, and and it was really important to me. I like some poetry, like Bukowski is one of my favorite poets. He's like a fucking alcoholic, brunt, nasty fucking poet, like a kind of like a landscaper. And so like I wanted to know, like I wanted to write this thing as concise as I could, but I also wanted to feel the writing. So I snuck out on the beach, and like all these people like have these beach houses, like the ones that are behind the gated neighborhoods, that they don't Airbnb because they got so much fucking money. They don't want somebody else sleeping in their bed ever, So I went up on one of their back porches, like all the lights were out, and I saw like the little like camera. It was like red. I assumed that would mean that it was videotaping me, but I knew I had some time, and most people probably don't even check their fucking cameras anyway, So I'm sitting up there on his back porch overlooking the ocean on a $10 million house, And I wanted to write my manifesto in that manner. Like I wanted to feel the fear. I wanted to feel the excitement. Like I wanted to feel like the cops could be coming, something, and I wrote like the name of my message, you've heard of the term, let's go, let's fucking go. Let's go. Let's go. Well, I kind of paired it with like my favorite poem of all time, which is called Go All the Way by Charles Bukowski. And that would be if you're a young entrepreneur, go read that poem. And, he makes poetry cool. Like if he's given like one day he was given an orientation, like reading poetry at a college classroom. And he was drinking wine. He asked if he could just go over there and piss out the window. And he did, cause he just didn't give a fuck. And you get that good, you can get away with that kind of shit. But I think like him and like Joseph Campbell, like the hero's journey are my two real kind of role models, where they're like, figure out what your bliss is, figure out what you want to do. And then let's go all the way with that. And then don't let anybody, like, they're going to tell you like, you're stupid. You're getting into lawn maintenance. Like, and lawn maintenance may not be the end thing for you. Like, a lot of people get into lawn maintenance and they learn how to run a fucking hard ass business. And then when you get past, like, you may not, if you run it real well, you may not even sell it. It may just be self-running, or maybe you use that as seed money to start your next thing. But you're going to be a tough motherfucker by the time you get done running that lawn maintenance business. And I mean, I don't know if we'll ever even sell ours. Like, it makes money. Like, why the fuck? I can't make that money in the fucking stock market. My fucking lawn maintenance business makes more than every fucking buddy's money in the stock market. Like, it's fucking dumb. Like, the amount of money I have in my lawn maintenance business as 100% return. Why would I ever put that in the stock market?
Yep.
But I think back to the young entrepreneur thing is like, just go all the way, figure out what your passion is, and just go all the way. What about you, Jonas? What is your advice to you?
I can't even follow up with that. That was fire. I think we end it right there. Like, that was money, man. I know you're a busy guy. We're busy here, I appreciate you taking the time.
Let's go make some fucking money.
Appreciate you taking the time with us today. Like, I know how busy you are. Where are you, by the way, right now? What state are you in?
I can't tell you exactly where I'm at because I'm not supposed to be here, but I'm in an undisclosed location in Destin, Florida.
Okay, sounds good.
I don't want to give away my honey hole,
It looks pretty warm. But yeah, man, I appreciate you being here. I love talking to you. It gets me fired up when I talk to you, so I appreciate being here.
Yeah, good talking to you, man. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pest Control Millionaire. If you are not already subscribed, we would really like if you did that. And please leave us a glowing review on iTunes. For the first 8 weeks that we have this show launched, we are going to give away a $50 Amazon gift card every week to a random person who gives us a nice review on iTunes. That's how important it is to us. Also, we want you to be involved with the show. Please send any questions you have about entrepreneurship, how to grow your business, anything about the service industry to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. We will answer them on the show. We have the best guests in the service industry, so why not get their take on your problems? Thanks for listening again, and we'll see you in the next one.